I adjust my simple navy dress in the mirror, tugging at the hemline that falls just below my knees. The bathroom light flickers, casting shadows across my face that seem to emphasize every worry line I've earned over the past 6 years. You look like a princess, Mommy. Lila's voice breaks through my critical self-assessment. She stands in the doorway, her brown eyes wide with admiration, clutching Mr. Whiskers, the stuffed cat she's loved since she was 3. Thank you, sweetheart. My hands tremble slightly as I fasten the delicate pearl necklace Lila picked out from my jewelry box, the one Mom gave me for my 16th birthday, back when I was still the daughter they had plans for. I practice a smile in the mirror, but it doesn't reach my eyes. 6 years as a night shift nurse has taught me how to fake alertness at 4 a.m. Surely I can fake confidence for one dinner. Lila fidgets with her yellow sundress, the one we found at the church thrift store last month. Will Aunt Savannah be happy to see us this time? My heart catches. Even at 6, she notices more than I wish she did. Of course she will. The lie tastes bitter on my tongue. The Italian restaurant rises before us like a fortress, its stone facade lit by tasteful spotlights. Valet attendants hustle around gleaming luxury vehicles while soft music drifts through the open doors. I grip my steering wheel tighter, my aging sedan looking painfully out of place among the BMWs and Mercedes. A dent in the passenger door catches the light. A souvenir from the shopping cart that got away from me last month. Is this where we're eating? Lila presses her face against the window, her breath fogging the glass. It's so fancy. Yes, honey. I check my lipstick in the rearview mirror one last time. Remember what we talked about? Best manners tonight. Yes, ma'am. She nods solemnly, but her eyes dance with excitement. I'll be extra good. The hostess's gaze flickers over us, taking in my simple dress and Lila's hand-me-down shoes. Her smile never falters, but something in her eyes shifts when I give our name. Torres anniversary party, I say, my chin lifting slightly. Of course. She consults her tablet. Right this way. We follow her through the restaurant, past tables of well-dressed couples sipping wine, past the central area where conversations flow easily amid soft lighting and fresh flowers. She leads us to the back, where a long table stretches beneath a chandelier. Savannah and Ethan sit at the center like royalty holding court. My sister's blonde highlights catch the light, her diamond earrings winking with every graceful turn of her head. Beside her, Ethan looks handsome in his tailored suit, his expression open and kind, so different from everyone else at the table. The hostess seats us at the far end, where the kitchen doors swing open every few minutes, letting bursts of noise and heat escape. Lila climbs onto her chair, her eyes wide as she takes in the multiple forks and spoons arranged before her. Mom spots us and makes her way over, her heels clicking against the hardwood floor. She leans in, her perfume enveloping me in a cloud of expensive scent as she air kisses my cheek. You actually look presentable tonight, dear, she whispers, smoothing down my collar as if I were still 12. Thanks, Mom. I keep my voice neutral, even as her words settle like small stones in my stomach. Dad gives a distracted wave from his seat, his eyes never fully meeting mine as he returns to his conversation with Ethan's father. Savannah glides over, champagne flute in hand, her red dress hugging curves that haven't been stretched by childbirth. My big sister finally made it. Her voice carries just enough for the entire table to hear. And with her unsituation. Lila looks up at the unfamiliar word, her brow furrowing. Hi, Savannah. Happy anniversary. I bend to kiss her cheek, ignoring the barb. You remember, Lila? Of course I do. Savannah pats Lila's head like she's a puppy. You've gotten so big. Ethan approaches, his smile genuine as he gives me a brief hug. Danica, good to see you. And Miss Lila, I hear you started kindergarten this year. Leela nods enthusiastically. I can write my whole name now. While Savannah drifts back to the center of the table, Ethan stays, asking Lila about school and complimenting her yellow dress. Something in his kindness makes my throat tighten. The evening progresses with toasts and announcements. Glasses clink as someone proposes a toast to the happy couple's 3rd anniversary. Ethan stands, his face flushed with pride as he announces his construction company's $5 million contract. The table erupts in applause and congratulations. I clap quietly, genuinely happy for him. 2 years ago, he had called me in tears when he lost his job, his voice breaking as he admitted he didn't know how to tell Savannah. I remember staying up after my shift to help him polish his resume, connecting him with a construction site manager I knew from the hospital. Savannah rises for her toast, her champagne glittering under the chandelier light. Her gaze sweeps the table before landing on me. To 3 wonderful years with the most amazing man, she raises her glass. And to many more successes to come. Her smile turns sharp as her eyes lock with mine. I just hope I never end up like some people over 30, single and barely scraping by. The table ripples with uncomfortable laughter. Dad chuckles and adds, "Men don't want women with kids already, sweetheart. You dodged that bullet." The words hit me like a physical blow. I stare at my plate, heat rushing to my face as conversations continue around me. Then a small voice beside me cuts through the noise. "Mom, why are they laughing at you?" Lila's question hangs in the air, innocent and devastating. My hands tremble beneath the table as I struggle to maintain composure. Mom's faint, complicit laugh deepens the wound. Before I can answer, a chair scrapes loudly against the floor. The sound slices through conversation, and the room falls silent. I look up to see Ethan standing, his expression serious. He walks deliberately around the table until he stands beside me. "That wasn't a joke," he says, his voice clear and firm. "That was cruel." Savannah's mouth falls open, shock etched across her perfect features. My parents shift uncomfortably in their seats, looking anywhere but at me. Lila looks up at Ethan with curious eyes, sensing something important is happening. "2 years ago," Ethan continues, "when I was at my lowest point, do you know who was there for me?" He scans the table, his gaze lingering on Savannah. "It wasn't my friends. It wasn't my family. It was Danica." I watch as realization dawns on faces around the table. A memory flashes through my mind. Ethan's desperate phone call. Savannah dismissing his struggles as just a setback. The hours I spent helping him rebuild his confidence while juggling night shifts and raising Lila alone. As Ethan speaks, something shifts inside me. For years I'd believed their narrative that my life was a cautionary tale, that being a single mother made me less valuable, less worthy. But listening to him now, I begin to see myself through different eyes. "The strongest and kindest person here," Ethan says, his hand resting lightly on my shoulder, "is Danica." Ethan stands beside me, his presence solid and unexpected as the entire room holds its breath. The soft clink of silverware against plates has stopped. Even the waiters hover at the edges, sensing the shift in atmosphere. 2 years ago, Ethan continues, his voice steady but tight with emotion, "I lost my position at Brentwood Construction after the merger. For 3 months, I couldn't find work." His gaze sweeps the table, lingering on Savannah. "I fell into a depression so deep I barely recognized myself. I racked up $6,000 in credit card debt, just keeping up appearances." Savannah shifts in her chair, her perfectly manicured fingers twisting the stem of her wine glass. The diamond on her left hand catches the light, flashing like a warning signal. "Ethan, this isn't the time." "When exactly is the time, Savannah?" His question hangs in the air between them. I stare at my lap, feeling the weight of every eye at the table. The memory of his late-night phone call surfaces, his voice breaking as he admitted he'd been sitting in his car for 2 hours, afraid to tell Savannah he'd been rejected for another position. While I was struggling, Ethan says, turning slightly toward me, "Danica checked on me weekly. She rewrote my resume at 3 in the morning after finishing a 12-hour shift. She introduced me to Mark Kelly, the site manager at County General who gave me my first contract." Dad clears his throat, uncomfortable with this disruption to the family narrative, but Ethan isn't finished. "Danica was the one who suggested I start my own company instead of chasing another corporate position. She did this while working night shifts, raising Lila alone, and living on a budget so tight she was cutting coupons for groceries." With each revelation, Savannah seems to physically shrink in her seat. Her shoulders curl inward, the confident posture she maintained moments ago collapsing like a souffle removed too early from the oven. "She even watched James for me when I had my first client meeting," Ethan adds, mentioning their 5-year-old son. "Remember, Savannah? You had that spa weekend with your college friends?" The silence stretches, broken only when Aunt Cheryl's voice rises from 3 seats down. "He's right." Her weathered hand reaches for her water glass. "When I was going through chemo last year and couldn't drive myself to treatments, Danica was the only one who took time off work to help me. The admission seems to open a floodgate. She helped my Robbie with his nursing school applications," Uncle Frank adds. "Spent hours on the phone walking him through the process." The table buzzes with similar stories, small kindnesses I'd extended over the years, moments I never expected acknowledgement for. Certainly not here. Lila looks up at me, her small face a mixture of confusion and pride. Mom helps everybody, she states with childlike simplicity. Something shifts in my chest, a long-held tightness beginning to unravel. Savannah's face flushes deep crimson. She stands abruptly, her napkin falling to the floor. I was just joking. Her voice rises, drawing glances from nearby tables. God, Danica's always been too sensitive. It's not my fault she makes questionable life choices. The words hang in the air, mean and desperate, but they don't sink into my skin the way they would have an hour ago. Do you have feelings for my sister? Savannah hurls the accusation at Ethan, her voice brittle with embarrassment. The collective gasp around the table sounds like a sudden gust of wind. Ethan looks at her, disappointment etched across his features. I have deep respect for her, he says quietly. Something you should have too. My parents sit frozen, trapped between daughters, unwilling to choose sides when they've spent decades making their preference clear. Mom fiddles with her pearl bracelet while Dad studies the contents of his water glass as if it holds answers. The moment stretches, and in that space, memories surface like bubbles rising in water. Savannah's lavish college graduation party with hired caterers and a live band. While my nursing pinning ceremony warranted only a quick dinner at Olive Garden, the $30,000 they contributed to her wedding, compared to the terse congratulations card when Lila was born. The weekly family dinners that became exercises in comparison, with Savannah's achievements highlighted, while mine were mentioned as afterthoughts, if at all. For years, I've approached these gatherings with the mentality of a supplicant, hoping to earn approval that was freely given to my sister. I've accepted scraps of attention while Savannah feasted on praise. The realization washes over me like warm water. I've been seeking validation from people incapable of giving it. Not because I'm unworthy, but because they cannot see beyond their own narrow vision of success. I stand slowly, my movements deliberate and controlled. The chair legs whisper against carpet. Conversations halt mid-sentence. Thank you, Ethan, for your kindness. My voice comes out softer than expected, but steady. I look around the table, meeting each pair of eyes directly for perhaps the first time. I've spent years trying to earn your respect. Tonight I realized I don't need it anymore. Lila stands beside me, her small hand slipping into mine. The gesture so simple, so profound in its trust, nearly breaks my composure. Ready to go home, sweetheart? I ask her. She nods, then turns to the table. Thank you for inviting us to your party, she says with the impeccable manners I've taught her. The bread was really good. A smile tugs at my lips despite everything. Even Aunt Cheryl chuckles softly. We walk toward the exit, my spine straight, shoulders back. The restaurant's warm lighting casts our silhouettes on the polished floor ahead, a woman and child, moving forward together. Behind us, I sense my parents almost speaking, their mouths opening then closing without sound. Ethan gives me a quiet nod of acknowledgement as we pass. Outside, the night air feels different against my skin. Cleaner somehow. I help Lila into the car, buckling her seatbelt carefully. Are Aunt Savannah and Uncle Ethan still married? She asks, her question startling a laugh from me. Yes, honey. I brush a strand of hair from her forehead. Grown-up relationships are complicated. Grown up. As we pull away from the restaurant, a weight I've carried so long I'd forgotten its presence begins to lift. My worth was never determined by their approval. Perhaps it never will be. And for the first time, that feels like freedom rather than failure. The car feels too quiet as we pull away from the restaurant. My knuckles turn white against the steering wheel. In the rearview mirror, Lila's face glows pale in the dashboard light, her small fingers fidgeting with Mr. Whisker's worn ear. Are Grandma and Grandpa mad at us? Her voice sounds small in the darkness. I swallow hard, buying time. How do I explain family dysfunction to a 6-year-old? No, sweetheart, they're not mad. Sometimes families disagree about how people should treat each other. Like when Tommy pushed Lucy at recess, and Mrs. Martin said that wasn't respectful. A surprised laugh escapes my throat. Something like that. Everyone deserves respect, even if they're different or make choices others wouldn't make. She considers this, nodding solemnly. I think you deserve lots of respect, Mommy. The tears I've been fighting spring to my eyes, but I blink them back. Thank you, baby. So do you. Back at our apartment, I run a warm bath for Lila, adding the last capful of the bubble solution we've been rationing. The pipes groan as hot water fills the tub, a familiar soundtrack to our modest life. While Lila splashes, I sit on the closed toilet lid, letting the steam wash away the restaurant's lingering perfume. Can we read 2 stories tonight? Lila asks as I wrap her in our threadbare but clean towel. Just one tonight. It's late. I help her into pajamas dotted with faded stars. After teeth brushing and prayers, I tuck her into bed. The sheets smell of the lavender sachet I made last month, a small luxury that cost nothing but time. Mommy? Her voice catches as I turn to leave. Are we going to be okay? I sit back down, the mattress dipping beneath my weight. Yes, Lila, we have each other, and that's enough. After she falls asleep, I sit at our tiny kitchen table, bills spread before me like tarot cards predicting my future. Only then do I allow the tears to fall, hot and silent, dropping onto an overdue electric notice. I give myself exactly 5 minutes to cry. Then I wipe my face with a paper towel, take a deep breath, and pick up my pen. There's still enough in my account to cover the electric bill if I put off buying new shoes until next month. I make the necessary calculations, my nursing school math serving me well. Morning brings a barrage of notifications on my phone, 3 missed calls from Mom. A text from Dad that simply reads, "Call your mother." Savannah's message appears at 7 a.m. "You're making this a bigger deal than it is." Ethan was completely out of line. I delete it without responding and wake Lila for school. Later, as I'm rushing to drop Lila at Mrs. Winters' is before my shift, a text from Aunt Cheryl brings an unexpected smile. "You showed real class, dear. Always knew you had your grandmother's backbone." The last message comes from Ethan. I meant every word. Thank you for everything. I slip my phone into my pocket without replying. Some messages don't need answers, they just need to be received. At work, I move differently. The night shift unfolds as it always does: medication rounds, vitals, checks, charting, but something has shifted inside me. I stand straighter. I speak with more authority when calling the on-call doctor about a patient's dropping oxygen levels. "You seem different lately, Danica." My supervisor, Martha, comments 3 weeks later as we share coffee in the break room. More confident. I shrug, but privately acknowledge the truth in her words. "I'm applying for the night shift supervisor position," I say instead. Martha's eyebrows rise, then she smiles. "About time. The application closes Friday. I'll put in a good word." My coworkers rally around me with unexpected enthusiasm. Ellen from Pediatrics offers to help with my resume. James from the ER suggests books on leadership that helped him advance. Their support stands in stark contrast to my family's dismissal. Lila thrives too. Her kindergarten teacher sends home a note about her exceptional empathy with classmates. She shows me a drawing labeled, "My Family," with just 2 stick figures, one tall, one small, both with enormous smiles and joined hands. "That's us," she says, pointing proudly. "Just us." I tape it to our refrigerator, right next to the chart tracking our new beginning jar, where we drop spare change and $1 bills whenever we can. The jar sits on our counter like a promise, catching sunlight through our kitchen window. We create small rituals of celebration. Tuesday becomes homemade pizza night, the dough rising on our counter while Lila does homework. Saturday mornings, we decorate the sidewalk outside our apartment building with chalk masterpieces that wash away with the afternoon rain. We read library books under a blanket fort, whispering stories like secrets between us. 3 months after the dinner, Martha calls me into her office. Her face gives nothing away as she gestures to the chair across from her desk. "The hospital administration reviewed all the applications for night shift supervisor," she begins, shuffling papers with maddening slowness. My heart sinks. I've been allowing myself to hope, calculating what the modest salary increase would mean. Maybe a 2-bedroom in a slightly better neighborhood, piano lessons for Lila, an emergency fund that wouldn't be depleted by a single car repair. And they've decided to offer you the position. Martha finishes, her serious expression breaking into a wide grin. "Congratulations, Danica." That evening, my colleagues surprise me with a small cake in the break room. "To Nurse Torres," Ellen says, raising a paper cup of sparkling cider. "Our new night supervisor." At home, I open my laptop and pull up apartment listings I've bookmarked over the past months but never had the courage to pursue. With trembling fingers, I send an inquiry about a 2-bedroom unit in Willow Creek Apartments. "What are you looking at?" "Him," Lila asks, peering over my shoulder. Maybe a new place for us to live, I answer, scrolling through photos of a small but sunny apartment with a patch of grass outside. Her eyes widen. Can I have yellow walls in my room? Like sunshine? I kiss the top of her head. Maybe we can, baby. Maybe we can. 2 weeks later, my phone lights up with my mother's number. I stare at it, thumb hovering over the screen. The last time we spoke was the night of the dinner. I answer on the fourth ring. Hello? Danica. My mother's voice sounds older somehow. Your father and I miss Lila. We were thinking you both could come for Sunday lunch. The invitation hangs between us, laden with unspoken tensions. I take a deep breath. We can visit for an hour, but I need to know that Lila and I will be treated with respect. The silence stretches so long I wonder if she's hung up. Finally, a sigh. Yes, of course. 1 o'clock? After hanging up, I meet Sarah for coffee. Our daughters play together in the park while we watch from a bench, steam rising from our cups against the autumn chill. You did what many of us wish we could do, Sarah says when I tell her about setting boundaries with my family. A fellow nurse and single mother, she understands the delicate balance we maintain daily. I'm terrified, I admit. Part of me still wants their approval. She squeezes my hand. That part never quite goes away. But you're teaching Lila something powerful by standing up for yourself. That day, I helped a new nurse named Rachel rearrange her schedule to accommodate her son's therapy appointments. The relief in her eyes when I approved the changes without hesitation reminds me of my own struggles. My last supervisor made me feel like my son was an inconvenience, she says, voice thick with emotion. Your son is the reason you work so hard, I reply. Never apologize for being a good mother. With my first supervisor paycheck, I enroll Lila in piano lessons at the community center. We find a small keyboard at a secondhand store, its scratched case hiding surprisingly good sound. It's not perfect, I warn Lila as we set it up in our living room. She runs her fingers over the keys, producing a delicate trickle of notes. It's beautiful, she declares, and in that moment, through her eyes, it truly is. 6 months after the dinner that changed everything, we move into our new apartment. Sunshine streams through windows larger than our old place. The kitchen has countertops without cracks. The bathroom faucet doesn't drip. Leela races from room to room, her excitement infectious. When she reaches her bedroom, she stops, a gasp escaping her lips. You painted it yellow. The landlord let me, I explain, smiling at her joy. I did it yesterday while you were at Sarah's. That evening, after unpacking the essentials, I hang our family photos. There aren't many, just Lila's school pictures, a candid shot of us at the park, the Polaroid a nurse took of us the day she was born. No extended family portraits, no holiday gatherings, just us. And somehow, that seems right. As twilight bathes our new home in golden light, Leela practices her piano. The simple melody fills our apartment, wrapping around us like a blessing. I sit by the window, watching her small fingers move across the keys, her face a study in concentration. At this moment of quiet triumph, I finally recognize my own reflection in my daughter's determined expression. We built this life together, one small victory at a time. And while the road hasn't been easy, I wouldn't trade this hard-won peace for anything. The fluorescent hospital lights wash over the nursing schedule board as I make my final adjustments. My pen moves with confidence, shifting names and times into a pattern that seems obvious now but took weeks to envision. You're actually doing it, Sarah whispers beside me, her eyes wide with a mixture of admiration and disbelief. The schedule everyone said couldn't be fixed. I step back, surveying my handiwork. The rotation allows parents to be home for dinner 3 nights a week, gives everyone 1 weekend off per month, and still maintains coverage for all shifts. No more mothers missing dance recitals, no more fathers working 6 nights straight. Torres. Hospital Administrator Stevens appears in the doorway, clipboard tucked under his arm, his usual expression of mild disapproval replaced by something I can't quite read. A word? Sarah squeezes my arm as I follow him to his office, the click of my practical shoes echoing down the corridor. He sits behind his desk, reviewing my proposal with careful attention. Your approach has reduced turnover by 15% in the trial period. He looks up, his gaze direct. The board wants to implement it hospital-wide. Pride blooms in my chest, warm and unfamiliar. Thank you, sir. Credit where it's due. He hands me the approved paperwork. Janet mentioned you might consider pursuing your MSN. The hospital has scholarship options. Walking back to the nurse's station, I feel a lightness in my step that hasn't been there in years. The afternoon brings unexpected visitors. Ethan's familiar figure appears at the entrance, blueprints tucked under his arm. Behind him follows a tall man with salt and pepper hair and laugh lines etched around kind eyes. Surprise inspection, Ethan jokes, approaching the desk. Actually, we're meeting with Stevens about the new pediatric wing. He gestures to his companion. Danica, this is David Whitman. He owns Whitman Paint and Supply. David, this is Danica Torres, nursing supervisor, and the reason I'm still in business. David extends his hand. His palm is warm and calloused, his handshake firm without being domineering. Ethan speaks highly of you. Says you're the most competent person he knows. Heat rushes to my face. He exaggerates. I doubt that. David's smile reaches his eyes, crinkling the corners. My company is handling all the specialty coatings for the children's wing. Antimicrobial paints, low VOC finishes. David's a widower, Ethan adds with all the subtlety of a freight train. His son James is 14. I shoot Ethan a look that makes him grin unrepentantly. How old is your daughter? David asks, seemingly unaware of Ethan's matchmaking attempt. Lila's 6. She just started piano lessons. James plays too, reluctantly. His laugh is warm, resonant, though he prefers his electric guitar, much to our neighbor's dismay. Our conversation flows with surprising ease. David asks thoughtful questions about pediatric care environments. I share insights about color psychology for healing spaces. When Stevens summons them for their meeting, David lingers a moment. Would you be open to getting coffee sometime? To discuss the project, of course. His voice carries a hint of uncertainty that somehow makes him more appealing. Before I can respond, Ethan answers for me. She's free Thursday afternoon. Lila has piano then, right? I nod, torn between annoyance at Ethan's presumption and gratitude for his confidence in me. Thursday would work. As they walk away, Ethan turns to give me a thumbs up behind David's back. I shake my head, but can't suppress a smile. The next morning, I'm pushing a cart through Westfield Market when I spot a familiar blonde head in the produce section. Savannah stands alone, examining avocados with unnecessary concentration. I consider slipping away, but Lila has already spotted her. Aunt Savannah, she calls, waving enthusiastically. Savannah looks up, her perfectly composed features registering surprise. She hesitates, then approaches with a gift bag I hadn't noticed she was carrying. Lila. Danica. Her voice lacks its usual sharp edge. She holds out the bag to Lila. I saw this and thought of you. Inside is a music book with simplified versions of Disney songs. Lila clutches it to her chest, beaming. Thank you, I'm learning piano now. An awkward silence stretches between us adults until Savannah clears her throat. Ethan said you moved to Willow Creek Apartments. How is it? The question seems genuine, lacking her usual judgment. It's nice. Lila has her own room. There's a park nearby. Savannah nods, her fingers fidgeting with her wedding ring. That's good. That's really good. We exchange a few more stilted pleasantries before parting ways. As we walk away, Lila looks up at me. Aunt Savannah seemed different. Yes, I murmur. She did. Thursday arrives with unexpected butterflies in my stomach. I haven't been on a date since before Lila was born. The nurses at the station notice my distraction. Girl, he called the hospital specifically asking for you. Marissa teases as I check my lipstick for the third time. That's some romance novel stuff right there. I roll my eyes but can't help smiling. It's coffee to discuss the pediatric wing project. Sure it is. She winks dramatically. That's why you're wearing your good jeans and actually put on mascara. The cafe David suggested sits halfway between the hospital and Lila's piano teacher's house. When I arrive, he's already there, a newspaper folded beside his coffee cup. He stands when he sees me, his smile warm. I wasn't sure how you take your coffee, he says after we exchange greetings. So I waited. Black with 1 sugar, I reply, touched by the consideration. Our conversation moves naturally from the hospital project to our children, to our journeys as single parents. David lost his wife to cancer 4 years ago. The grief still shadows his eyes when he mentions her, but doesn't consume him. The hardest part, he admits, was figuring out how to be both parents. James needed his mother's gentleness, but I only knew how to be his father. I nod, understanding completely. For me, it was the practical stuff, fixing things, teaching Lila what her father should have taught her. Does he see her at all? David asks carefully. He left when I was 5 months pregnant. He's in Seattle now with a new family. I'm surprised by how little pain accompanies the words now. David doesn't offer platitudes or outrage on my behalf. Instead, he asks about Lila's piano lessons. His genuine interest in my daughter means more than any compliment he could pay me. When we part ways, he walks me to my car. I'd like to see you again, Danica. Maybe dinner next time? For once, I don't overthink my response. I'd like that too. Sunday arrives with familiar dread as Lila and I pull up to my parents' house for lunch. The modest brick home looks exactly as it has for 20 years. My mother's roses blooming precisely along the walkway. Dad opens the door before we knock. His eyes soften at the sight of Lila, though his greeting to me remains awkward. How's the new position treating you? The question feels like an olive branch, however clumsy. It's challenging, but good. Mom bustles out from the kitchen, wiping her hands on her apron. I always knew you'd make supervisor someday, she announces, as if she hadn't expressed doubt about every career decision I've ever made. I don't contradict her. Instead, I help set the table while Lila shows them her progress in the music book Savannah gave her. Their stiff praise gradually warms as she plays Twinkle Twinkle with careful concentration. Lunch passes without barbed comments or comparisons to Savannah. The conversation remains on safe topics. Dad's garden, Mom's church committee, Lila's school projects. It's not warmth exactly, but it's not frost either. Something in between, like early spring. 9 months after the anniversary dinner disaster, my apartment fills with laughter and conversation. Sarah chases her daughter Zoe through the living room, while Aunt Cheryl arranges cheese and crackers on the coffee table. 3 of my nursing colleagues crowd around the kitchen island, debating the hospital's new electronic records system. The doorbell rings, and Lila races to answer it. They're here! David and James enter bearing a potted plant and homemade cookies. Behind them, I catch a glimpse of our elderly neighbor, Mrs. Fitzgerald, whom David insisted we invite after learning she had no family nearby. Sorry, we're late, David says, kissing my cheek. James insisted on making the cookies from scratch. The teenager rolls his eyes but looks pleased at the recognition. He immediately seeks out Lila, who adores him with the fervor only a 6-year-old can muster for a cool teenage boy. Ladies and gentlemen, Lila announces with theatrical formality, I will now perform my recital pieces. Everyone gathers around our second-hand upright piano as Lila plays 3 simple songs, her small fingers careful on the keys. When she finishes For Elise, simplified for beginners, the applause is genuine and enthusiastic. David's arm slips around my waist as we watch James show Lila a new chord progression. She's remarkable, he murmurs, just like her mother. I look around the room at these people who've become my chosen family. Sarah, who understands single motherhood's challenges. Aunt Cheryl, who always believed in me. My colleagues, who respect my professional judgment. And David, who sees me clearly and values what he sees. The contrast with last year's anniversary dinner couldn't be starker. There, I was diminished and dismissed. Here, I am celebrated and seen. Lila's laughter rings out as James teaches her a silly song about a walrus. David's hand finds mine, warm and steady. At this moment, surrounded by genuine affection, I realize I've created something precious. A circle of love built on respect, rather than obligation. A family of choice. The invitation arrives on cream-colored stationery, edged with gold foil. I flip it between my fingers, my stomach tightening as I read the embossed script. Celebrating 4 years of marriage. Savannah and Ethan Pitt. Same restaurant, same family. 1 year later. Lila spots the card as she arranges her homework on the kitchen table. What's that, Mommy? An invitation to Aunt Savannah and Uncle Ethan's anniversary dinner. The memory of last year's humiliation flashes through my mind, Lila's innocent question. The table's uncomfortable laughter, my hands trembling beneath the tablecloth. Are we going? Lila asks, her pencil hovering above her math worksheet. I'm not sure yet. Later, after tucking Lila into bed, I call Ethan. His voice sounds cautious when he answers. I wanted to talk about the invitation. I say, curling up in the corner of my sofa. Things are different now, he says. Savannah has been seeing a therapist. After you left last year, it changed things. I twist the phone cord around my finger, remembering how Ethan stood beside me that night, his voice cutting through the cruelty. I appreciate that, but I need to protect Lila. I understand. The next evening, David and I walk through the park near my apartment building, Lila running ahead to the swings. What are you afraid will happen if you go? He asks as we settle onto a bench. That nothing has changed, that they'll just find subtler ways to make me feel small. David takes my hand, his thumb brushing over my knuckles. You've grown stronger. You can handle this on your terms. His confidence in me becomes the push I need. That night, I call my sister directly. Before I accept, I need to know what to expect, I tell Savannah, my voice firmer than it's ever been with her. The pause on the line stretches until I wonder if she's hung up. Then, I'd like us to try again. Another pause. I've been working on myself. The vulnerability in her voice surprises me. It doesn't sound like the sister who has always moved through life with perfect confidence. Okay, I say finally. We'll come. Saturday afternoon finds Lila and me at the department store, something we rarely do. Last year's borrowed clothes and thrift store finds have been replaced with a sense of choice that comes with my supervisor's salary. Lila twirls in a purple dress with tiny flowers embroidered around the hem. This one, please, Mom? I check the price tag and nod. It's perfect. For myself, I select a simple emerald dress that fits well across my shoulders and cinches at the waist. The color brings out flecks of green in my eyes that I've never noticed before. At home, as I curl Lila's hair, I try to explain what forgiveness means. Sometimes people hurt us without meaning to. I tell her, separating another section of hair. Like when Emma said my lunch smelled funny? Something like that. And sometimes, if they're truly sorry, we can give them another chance. But not always. She looks up at me with those wise eyes. No, sweetie, not always. I set the curling iron down. We're going to see if Aunt Savannah and Grandma and Grandpa are ready for their second chance. David picks us up at 6:30, whistling softly when he sees us. You two look beautiful. He kisses my cheek and helps Lila into his car, her purple dress carefully arranged so it won't wrinkle. In the passenger seat, I smooth my hands over my own dress, grateful for his steady presence. I'll pick you up at 9, he promises as he drops us off. Just text if you need me earlier. The restaurant looks exactly as I remember: stone facade, valet attendants, luxury cars. But this time, I walk through the door with my head high, Lila's hand warm in mine. The hostess smiles without a trace of last year's judgment. The Torres party is expecting you. We're barely inside when Savannah approaches, her hands clasped before her. She wears a simple black dress, her hair pulled back in a low twist. The usual sparkle of diamonds is absent from her ears. You came, she says. Thank you. Her eyes dart to Lila, then back to me. I notice the slight tremble in her fingers, the uncertainty in her posture. This isn't the Savannah I've known all my life. Your dress is so pretty, she tells Lila, bending slightly. There's a special kids' table with your cousins, if you'd like to join them. Lila looks up at me for permission. I nod, and she follows Savannah's gesture to where 3 children sit at a smaller table adorned with coloring books and crayons. The main table is arranged differently this year. When I approach, I see my place setting near the center, nowhere near the swinging kitchen doors. My mother stands, her embrace stiff but genuine. You look lovely, Danica, she says, and I detect no backhanded compliment in her words. My father clears his throat. Good to see you both made it. Ethan pulls out my chair with a knowing smile. Glad you're here. Throughout dinner, I notice the subtle shifts. Conversations include, rather than exclude me. When I mention my promotion, my parents ask follow-up questions. The cruel undercurrents of last year have been replaced with something fragile but real. After the main course, Savannah rises for her toast, champagne flute in hand. I brace myself instinctively. This year has taught me about what matters, she says, her gaze traveling around the table before landing on me. Some people show strength in ways we don't always recognize. The words aren't specifically an apology, but her eyes tell a different story. When Ethan stands for his own toast, he mentions his company's growth and adds, "None of this would have been possible without my support network." His glance in my direction isn't lost on anyone at the table. Later, while selecting desserts from the buffet table, my mother appears beside me. We stand in uncomfortable silence until she speaks. "We didn't see you clearly," she says, arranging strawberries on her plate with excessive care. "I'm sorry for that." The words I've waited years to hear arrive without fanfare, between the chocolate fountain and the petite fours. "I needed your support, not your judgment," I reply, my voice low but steady. My father joins us, hands in his pockets. "Your mother's right, we favored Savannah. Always have." He offers no excuse, no justification, just a simple acknowledgement that hangs between us. I look at their aging faces, seeing for the first time the insecurities behind their criticism of my choices. We'll see where we go from here. Near the end of the evening, Savannah touches my elbow. "Can we talk? Outside?" The night air is cool against my skin as we stand on the restaurant's stone patio. Savannah wraps her arms around herself, suddenly looking very young. "I was so jealous of your strength," she says, tears gathering in her eyes. It was easier to mock than admire. "Jealous? Of me?" The words sound impossible. "You've always known exactly who you are. You make decisions and stick with them, even when they're hard." She wipes at her cheek. "Ethan and I have been trying for a baby for 3 years. Nothing's working. The fertility treatments are breaking me, and our marriage nearly fell apart last summer." The confession pours out of her like water through a broken dam. All the perfect pictures on social media, the flawless family image, hiding a reality as complicated as my own. I listen without rushing to comfort her. This pain doesn't erase what came before. But something shifts in me as I see my sister truly see her perhaps for the first time. "Maybe we can start again," I say finally. "Not like before. Something new." "I'd like that." She hesitates, then opens her arms for a hug. I step forward, allowing the embrace but not sinking into it. Before we leave, the family gathers for a photo. I stand beside my sister, no longer relegated to the edges. Lila beams between her grandparents, comfortable in a way she hasn't been before. When David arrives to pick us up, I introduce him to everyone. Savannah asks about his paint supply business with what seems like genuine interest. Ethan watches us with a knowing smile, as if pleased by how much has changed. In the car, Lila falls asleep almost immediately, her head against the window, purple dress rumpled from an evening of play with her cousins. "How was it?" David asks quietly. I look back at the restaurant, at the family still visible through the windows. "Forgiveness doesn't erase the past," I say, thinking of my sister's tears, my parents' halting apologies. It creates space for a different future. As we pull away, I feel something loosen in my chest, not the complete release of all hurts, but the first breath of something new. 2 years later, I stand at the edge of my garden, early evening sun warming my shoulders. The clay pots of basil and rosemary release their scent when I brush my fingers across their leaves. My garden. My home. Words I never thought would belong together. Through the open windows, Lila's piano music drifts out a simplified version of Beethoven's Ode to Joy that James taught her last weekend. Her playing has improved remarkably in the year since we moved in. At 8, she attacks the keys with confidence that makes my heart swell. Inside, framed photographs tell our story better than words could. Lila feeding ducks with mom and dad at the city park. Savannah and me laughing over coffee, our faces reflected in the cafe window. David and me at the hospital fundraiser, his hand resting comfortably at my waist. The whole family gathered in this very backyard 3 months ago, smoke rising from the grill as Dad taught James how to check if the burgers were done. Almost finished. Lila calls out when she notices me watching through the window. Her fingers trip over a difficult passage, but she recovers quickly. James has been a patient teacher, his teenage awkwardness falling away whenever he sits beside Lila at the piano bench. My phone buzzes with a text from Sarah. "How did the presentation go?" Earlier today, I spoke to a support group for single mothers at the community center. My message was simple but hard-won. Your worth isn't determined by those who cannot see it clearly. 20 women listened as I shared my journey from that humiliating anniversary dinner to today. I told them about boundaries without bitterness, about forgiveness that doesn't invite further harm. Build your circle with those who value you, I advised, watching understanding bloom across tired faces. The hospital administration had been surprisingly supportive when I requested afternoon leave for the presentation. 2 years ago, they might have questioned a night nurse stepping into an educator role. Now, as I work toward my advanced nursing degree, they see me as an investment rather than an inconvenience. A car pulls into the driveway, David's silver sedan with the small dent on the passenger door, where James backed into a mailbox during a driving lesson. He steps out balancing takeout containers and his briefcase. Our eyes meet across the yard, and his smile deepens the laugh lines around his eyes. Thai food as requested, he announces, holding up the bags. And I found that gardening book you wanted. I meet him halfway, accepting both the food and the quick kiss he offers. Perfect timing. Lila's almost done practicing. In the kitchen, David sets the table, while I pour water into glasses with lemon slices. The domesticity of it all still surprises me, this comfortable rhythm we've built over months of Sunday dinners and Tuesday movie nights. So, he says casually, leaning against the counter, have you thought about my proposal? Last weekend on this very porch, David got down on one knee. I asked for time to think, not because I was uncertain, but because I wanted to savor the moment, to be absolutely present in this decision, rather than swept away. I reply, feeling a smile warm my face. And yes, on one condition, Lila gets to help plan the wedding. His laughter fills the kitchen. I wouldn't have it any other way. My phone buzzes again. Savannah asking if we're still on for Saturday's appointment at the adoption agency. After years of fertility treatments, she and Ethan decided to build their family differently. When she asked me to come along for moral support, I recognized the gesture for what it was, a bridge spanning years of rivalry. Sunday dinner at my parents' home has become a peaceful tradition rather than an ordeal. Mom actually listens when I share stories about the nursing mentorship program I started. Dad proudly recorded every minute of Lila's spring piano recital on his new smartphone. As dusk settles over the garden, I watch the first fireflies of the season blink between the rose bushes. Inside, Lila's music fills our home, while David sets out dinner. In a few minutes, James will arrive from his friend's house, completing our circle. Sometimes the greatest gift in life is discovering your own worth, even when others miss it. The journey from that restaurant to this garden wasn't a straight line, but every difficult step led me here to this moment, this peace, this life built on my own terms. Your worth is not determined by those who cannot see it clearly. It is revealed in how you rise each time they try to diminish you.